Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the After the Frame podcast. My name is Malik, and I am joined, as always, by.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And today we are going to be doing a few more fun activities, as well as the main event of us reviewing Send Help. So I know that we usually have in the beginning now for this year, we've been kind of doing more of the news, like anything in the news that we want to talk about. Do you have anything in particular that you wanted to talk about? Did you want to hop right into the activities? How did you want to go about doing?
I actually had a headline that I thought was kind of interesting.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, Sundance Film Festival actually just wrapped a couple days ago. And I was reading an article the other day from, I think, the LA Times or something like that. And the one thing that surprised me is I think that the indie film business, it seems to be waking up compared to a little bit, where it was in years past. Typically, after any film festival, there's typically a waiting period before this studio or company decides to purchase the rights to a film and, air it in theaters. With Sundance just ending, I was reading something that like 4 films within 3 days have already been like bought out. Like, and new distributors are stepping in too. Like, it's not just, A24 and Neon and all like the indie supporters that we see often. I've noticed a lot of like larger studios coming in too, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's very smart for them to kind of jump onto the bandwagon, so to speak, because yeah, as you already mentioned with A24, Neon, they've been picking up some good movies recently. I mean, Marty Supreme from last year is like more than likely going to be up there for movie of the year. So yeah, I think that that's good that now we're seeing it's not just IP driven stuff. We got some good art actually in there.
Yeah, totally.
My headline is something that we kind of discussed off camera a little bit. It was nothing like too in depth, so I kind of wanted to get your full thoughts on it now that we're recording.
Oh boy, here we go.
So, nothing too major. This happened a few weeks ago, but it was just something that I was like listening to a separate podcast actually, and they were talking about it. And I said, "Oh yeah, we never really discussed it." So the headline is for Christina Hodson, who is said to be writing this script for Batman: The Brave and the Bold, and she's done movies like Birds of Prey and The Flash, and James Gunn has kind of been getting a little bit of heat, I guess, online as well as her because those movies are not necessarily great. What are your thoughts about that? I know that everybody's very trepidatious with this whole Batman Brave and the Bold, the Batman and the DCU thing. It doesn't seem like it's quite coming together. So what are your thoughts about this specific writer being the one that's writing it and just the movie as a whole in the DCU?
Well, I think she's getting a lot of heat for, I don't want to say no reason, but little reason. I'm assuming if she was picked, like she was picked for a reason, but I hope it's not just, oh, I worked with Andy Muschietti on The Flash and let's carry that over because The Flash was not good. Birds of Prey, I thought was okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I didn't think it was great. And then I think she also wrote Bumblebee, which I thought was
Yes.
also okay. So knowing how James Gunn should at least have like oversight on what's going out, like it wouldn't shock me if he did like uncredited like rewrites or something, like something going over it. I do see people's concern because the filmography from this writer is not spectacular. It's not going to be Dark Knight. It's not going to be Matt Reeves of care put into this writing. At least that's my assumption. But I don't know. I think it is very early to see. I don't think it ended up coming to fruition on the Dead Batgirl film, but I think before we got that one, I think there was work being done on a previous Batgirl film, but like never got the ground running. I think she was supposed to be the writer on that. So, I mean, if she has the interest in this universe and can do it right, I'm fine with it, but I think it's a little premature to be throwing tomatoes.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I mean when I saw the news, I wasn't like ecstatic about it because I think Batman is probably the most famous superhero within like this DC universe that they've got going on.
Mhm.
And obviously, it's plain to see with the slate that they have coming out over the next few years that they're focusing on other heroes or villains and other origins, which is completely fine. I just think that a lot of people, because he's kind of like that face of DC, so to speak, him and Superman and Wonder Woman, that people want more care to be put into those movies. As you said, like usually a Batman movie has a big name director, big writers. The person they cast for Batman is like a big name actor. So I'm very curious to see. I agree with you. We don't know too much yet. Nothing's been officially said, but I'm very curious because from what I can gather, it doesn't seem like that's what we're going to be getting. I think more than likely we're going to kind of get a younger Batman who might be, a lot of people are saying Brendan Sklenar, somebody like that who's not like a big Oscar worthy actor yet, still pretty young. So I think that that's where James Gunn is going to go with it. And I think a lot of people are going to be pissed. I don't see that this movie is going to be at the caliber of like the Batman or the Dark Knight or any of those films. It's
No,
probably just going to tell whatever story that James Gunn and all of them have for the DCU going forward. And I think that we just need to kind of start stifling our expectations on that. I don't think that this movie is going to be a world beater, unfortunately, but we'll see. That movie is not going to come out till like 2029 or 2030 at this point.
literally.
So we don't have to worry too much about it. But anyway, shifting gears, going into our activities. First up again, we have Tenable. You want to go ahead and go first with yours?
Yeah. So I actually have two that I will let you pick from because I couldn't decide which one I wanted to use.
Okay.
The first one is kind of leaning more into this topic that we're going to cover of survival, horror, that sort of realm.
Mhm.
Your first option is 10 survival movies where everything goes sideways, and I just want to see how many of what I've got you can name.
Okay.
Or name the 10 Rachel McAdams movies I have written down. So it's a little bit more subjective based on what I threw out on a list, no really right or wrong, but I was kind of blanking. So I'm like, let me throw something in.
Okay. Let me do the Rachel McAdams movies, and
Okay.
then maybe we can save that other list for another episode or something.
Works for me.
Let me know when you got your time up, and I'll start guessing.
Yeah, let me go to my clock. 3 minute. Okay. You are a go in 3, 2, 1. Go.
Let's start with Send Help. Is that on your list? I don't know if you've
It is
included that.
not.
Okay. Wedding Crashers.
That's one.
What else has she been in? Doctor Strange.
That's two.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
That is not on there. You are at 2 strikes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know many of. I mean, as you said, it's subjective, so it's just a literal shot in the dark. You never know what you could have put on the list.
Yeah.
What other stuff has she been in? Mean Girls,
Mean Girls is on there.
The Notebook.
The Notebook is on there.
Let's see, what other things has she been in? She was in, what is it called? In Time or something with time in the title, but I'll come back to that one. It's let me see. She was in that Eurovision movie. I'll throw that one out. You got that in there?
Eurovision? Is that the name of it?
Eurovision, it like has like a long title. I think it's something Eurovision. It was like a comedy movie.
I don't have that one. So
Oh well.
that's 3 strikes. I will
Well,
give you an extra point. About Time is what you were thinking
about
of.
time. Okay. All right. What were the other ones you had?
Spotlight, which I don't know if you've seen. It deals with
No.
okay, very good movie. Sherlock Holmes?
Oh, yeah, I forgot she's in two of those.
Yeah.
In both of them.
Midnight in Paris?
Nope.
Game
Who's in
Night,
Paris?
which
Who was that in Paris?
I plead the fifth.
Anyway.
Game Night, which I was surprised you didn't guess. I thought, yeah.
It's just because, like, yeah, I don't watch a ton of Rachel McAdams movies, but I love Jason Bateman. And funny enough, when I finished watching Send Help, my girlfriend and I were talking about Rachel McAdams movies, and we literally just talked about it, and I blanked on it. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, who else?
Game Night's a good movie.
It
And
is.
then The Time Traveler's Wife.
Oh, so there were two that were dealing with time. I thought that, yeah, The Time Traveler's Wife, for some reason, I was picturing another actress, but okay, that adds
Yeah,
up.
I
That makes sense.
tried keeping you on your toes, so
Yeah.
not too bad.
Mine is not going to be as topical, not specifically for this episode. Mine is going to still lean into Oscar season. So,
Okay.
what I'm going to ask you to do is name the last 10 Best Actor winners. So, let me just get up the 3 minutes here. And
That's going from what, 25 to 15?
yes, starting from last year, going to 2016, I think.
Okay, yeah, 20.
Yeah. All right. So you are good to start guessing in 3, 2, 1.
All right, I'm gonna
In no
go
particular order. You don't need to
in no
go down
particular
the
order.
line. Yeah.
I know Leo.
He's literally the latest one. That was 2016, like all the way back.
Yeah,
That's the
I knew
furthest you have to
he
go.
got that one, but now I have to work my way in. Adrian Brody won last year.
Yep, that's true.
Cillian Murphy won the year before.
That's correct.
Who else won? Will Smith won for King Richard.
Yep, when he slapped Chris Rock that year.
Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix won for Joker.
Yeah, it's true.
What year was that? Rami Malek for Freddie Mercury?
That's correct. You're missing right now one in between Cillian Murphy and Will Smith, one in between Will Smith and Joaquin Phoenix, and 2 between Rami Malek and Leo.
How much time do I have?
You have 1 minute 45
Okay.
and no strikes.
Trying to think of what came out in 23. What's his name? Brendan Fraser for The
That's
Whale.
correct. Yep.
Okay. You said I have one between
One in between
Will and
Smith.
Joaquin?
Yes.
Okay, I'd save that one.
You
I have a
got-
gap between
You got about a
Rami
minute
Malek?
left.
Okay, I have a minute. Let me just start.
Let me
shutting
give
down
you a
names.
hint on the one in between Will Smith and Joaquin Phoenix. He was nominated with Joaquin Phoenix when he, he obviously lost the year before and then he went on to win the next year. If that helps, if you can picture the people who are nominated with Joaquin Phoenix. The other ones in between Leo and Rami Malek, the one like right after Leo was like kind of a very like depressing type movie. I never watched it. He has a famous brother in Hollywood. And then the one after that person is in a couple famous franchises in Hollywood, but did not win for those franchises.
Famous brother, I'm going to say Casey Affleck.
That is correct, yes.
And then I got 2 left.
2 more. And
Franchises.
you got about 15 seconds with no strikes.
Gary Oldman.
Yes.
And in the middle, who else was? Oh, Anthony Hopkins.
You got it right on time.
Buzzer beater. That's right, because 2020, I'm trying to think who else was nominated.
For the Joaquin Phoenix year?
It was Joaquin.
That was Antonio Banderas, Joaquin Phoenix. It was Marriage Story, Adam Driver, Leo for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well. And then, it was the 2 popes. Anthony Hopkins was for that, I think.
Oh, yeah,
sure.
that's right. And yeah. I forgot
if
about
I think I might be missing a person who was nominated in that, but those are the people that I remember. I just remember those. But yeah, good job. You got all 10. Literally right.
Brain.
Yeah, literally right at the last second there. So good job. So we can move on to blind rankings then. You have a blind ranking category?
I do. This is kind of going back to the horror theme, survival theme.
Gotcha.
I don't know how many of these you've seen. I hope you've seen at least 2.
All right.
All right. Blind ranking, best survival panic movies.
Okay.
The Revenant, featuring Leo himself.
2. This is 5, correct?
I have 5, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, 2.
Castaway.
There's a lot you can choose from, so I'll put that at 3.
Really? Okay. 127 hours.
5.
Really? Okay. The Descent.
4.
And Misery.
Well, I only have 1. I definitely would have changed her on that list, but, as I said, like, there's a vast amount of survival movies, so
yeah,
I didn't know.
Like I said, I was just throwing darts. Which ones have you seen?
I've seen The Revenant. I've seen Castaway. I've seen The Descent. What was the other one that you... Oh, Misery I've never seen. That's the Kathy Bates one, right?
Yeah, and then...
Never seen that. And then
127 hours with...
I never finished.
James Franco.
With James Franco, yeah. Okay. I watched it, like, years ago when it was, like, on Comcast, like, on demand, and it was just like something maybe my family had on and we just never finished. So yeah, and what was the 5th one? So I had Misery, Revenant,
Castaway, 127 hours, and The Descent.
And The Descent. Yeah, I've seen The Descent. Okay, so yeah. So I basically haven't seen 1.5 of those.
Yeah. Not a bad list given what was thrown at you.
Yeah, I mean these blind rankings are all how it is, you never know.
All right, now I get to get thrown off my game.
I don't have a blind ranking this episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, none for me this time. I only have our next segment, hot takes. So maybe you'll get thrown off like how I did with the Dark Knight hot take last episode. you'll get thrown off
D-
by some more of the ones that people sent me.
Don't remind me, please.
I have some that are pretty hot takes. So
Oh boy.
we want to do 3 each
Yeah, that's fine.
if you
I have
have.
three. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'll start with one that's kind of more tame. This person said the art of the rom-com has died out and needs to be brought back. Do you agree or disagree? Thoughts?
I disagree. I don't think rom-coms have changed much in the past couple years, like, even going back like 10, 15 years. Like I don't think they've changed much. I think they've become ever so slightly more serious, and it's not, as tongue in cheek like other movies, but I don't think we need to completely rescope what a rom-com is. So yeah, I disagree with that one.
Yeah, and I just don't think that there's a huge market nowadays. Like, I mean, they still make, I don't even know if you can consider it a rom-com, but they make like romantic movies still. Like last year they had, what was it? Forgetting You, right?
Hmm.
They don't like, I mean, to me, a rom-com is like 50 First Dates, Crazy Stupid Love, like those types of things. They don't really make them anymore. I wouldn't say that the genre has died. I just feel like maybe people, they never went out to see those movies in droves. Like they never made a ton of money. And that's how Hollywood is. Like if you're
Yeah.
not, if it's not making money, they're like, well, I'd rather put money towards like an IP or something. So yeah, I kind of disagree as well. Not to say that if there were good rom-coms coming out that I wouldn't, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie, but I'm not really like clamoring for any, so it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
All right, what do you
So
got?
my first one here, I'm probably actually gonna start cold like you did, and then kind of work
Hmm.
my way up. Studios in general, this is no shot at any particular one, but I think studios should stop announcing release dates, period, without a finished script. Like just say something's in development and like relax, because like DC, they are announcing, all these things are in development. Thankfully, they haven't put a timetable on. But like Marvel, Star Wars, like all of these things are expected to come out in the next couple years, but like they don't have a writer. They don't have a finished script. They don't have a plan. And like Marvel especially, like I read something the other day that Secret Wars may be split into two parts.
Yeah, I read
And I'm
that as
like,
well.
oh, like if you're gonna have a plan and you announced this movie so long ago, you can't treat it like it's a piece of Play-Doh. Like you gotta sculpt it into what you want it to be. You can iron out the kinks, as you go, but you can't flip the Play-Doh on its head and just decide, oh yeah, we're doing this instead, and go through 17 iterations of the script. And like Star Wars is equally as bad. Like for the past 10, 15 years, like they have always announced stuff. And like it's annoying to see because that's probably like my favorite franchise ever. And they just keep announcing things, movies, TV, gaming, anything. And it's just, oh yeah, crickets after a couple years and then poof, it's gone.
Yeah, like the Ray movie that they claimed that they were gonna make. I don't think that's ever happening again.
I think that's still happening. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I think it is
It's
still
I think
happening.
that I think well, I mean, the company really like under the umbrella of what you're criticizing is Disney as a whole. I agree with you completely. I wouldn't even say that this is a hot take. I mean, I don't know. I haven't talked to many people about like their position on this, but for
Mm,
me personally, I 100% agree and I think that from when Marvel, like even the MCU and Kevin Feige started doing the whole, oh, this is going to be our slate for phase 3 or whatever, it just ruined everything. Because I think that phase 1 was so much fun for me because I didn't know what was coming out next. I wish that that's how James Gunn was doing it, but unfortunately, I feel like that's just the way Hollywood is now. The investors that are in these movies and in these studios probably are asking for these things so they can know, what am I investing in? What's the long term plan? But I remember at the end of Iron Man 2, in the post credit scene when Coulson goes to New Mexico and you just see Thor's hammer, I was like, oh shit, well, we're going to Thor next. That's pretty
yeah.
cool. Whereas now, if it was like the MCU was starting now, we would have the slate showing, well, we're going to have Iron Man and then the Incredible Hulk, and you know exactly what to expect next. I mean, it was a nice, pleasant surprise, I will say, that James Gunn is doing Man of Tomorrow next year because when he originally set his slate, he never had that. But again, I really wish rather than it being an announcement on Instagram, I don't know, like during I don't know, maybe say later on in the year, Clayface, maybe, or another movie, we just get a teaser trailer for it. And that's how we know. I feel like that whole thing is lost now because Hollywood, everything you read about too much reports online, like everything is leaked, you see set photos, it ruins everything, but it's unfortunately just how everything is. You'd have to like just be off of social media, I guess, completely in order to avoid it. But I agree
Yeah.
with you. I think that these studios need to relax on the release dates. Just especially, I appreciate that James Gunn is saying that we are not making a movie until he reads the screenplay, reads the script, make sure he likes it, make sure it's cohesive with the universe he's building, because that makes sense. Unlike Marvel, who started, filming Doomsday and the third act wasn't written, and actors are saying, oh, like I didn't even know who I was acting with. I was just in a green screen, and it's a mess. Like they're just, as you said, it's like how the Duffer Brothers made Stranger Things season 5. It's just, it comes out bad quality. So, but that could be a whole episode. I could go on and on about that. I really hate that about Hollywood now. Let me do another somewhat tame one. This person said none of Adam Sandler's movies are funny. They're actually quite obnoxious. For me, I don't find Adam Sandler's movies funny. I feel like a lot of them are very similar in humor. So I feel like, but humor is subjective. Who am I to say that, you shouldn't find somebody funny? But it
Mhm.
doesn't work for me. So unfortunately, if one Adam Sandler movie doesn't work for you, majority of them aren't because they're the same Happy Madison company. Is that the name of his
Happy,
company as well? Hap-
yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought you were talking
Happy
Happy Gilmore for a minute. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, no. Yeah, the company that he has that, like, him, David Spade, or always Rob Schneider, all of them are in the same movies. He has the same people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what you're gonna get. So I kind of agree. I think that calling them obnoxious, not all of them are, but there are definitely some that are obnoxious. So what are your thoughts on that?
Disagree. As you said, humor is subjective. And it's funny, like as we're looking now, I am looking to see like what I have like rated as my highest Adam Sandler film. I have an idea what it is, but I do think a lot of his humor leaning movies are just cringe. There are some good ones, but there are a lot of bad ones. Shout out Jack and Jill. That one is abysmal.
Yeah, I've seen that. That was a tough watch for sure. I can't believe
Yeah.
that they got Al Pacino for that movie. We should do an episode reviewing that one day.
Oh
That's
God.
something else.
But like Adam Sandler as an actor, like, he has shown strength. And like I'm gonna shout out Uncut Gems, which is probably my highest rated movie of his. Like Happy Gilmore, not the sequel, but Happy Gilmore, 51st Dates, like Click, like those are all pretty
The
good.
Water Boy, The
Yeah, I forgot
Longest
about that one. The
Yard.
Waterboy. Yeah, like a lot of those movies are good. The humor can be a little ticky tack, but I don't think most of his movies are obnoxious, but it's really kind of the more annoying ones, the more bizarre ones that can get annoying and
Like
just not funny.
Pixels.
Uh yeah, so I have a funny story behind that one. Shout out my brother. He loves that movie. I can't
Pixels?
stand it. Yeah, I don't know how he enjoys it. I can't stand it. Like we went to see it in the theater because he saw the giant Pac-Man and and like I'm a gamer too. Like I like all that stuff. But oh my god, that movie is so dry and just so bleh. And we were in the theater and like I straight up wasn't having a good time. But we went as a family and he was having fun. He has the poster of the movie like framed somewhere. And I'm like,
Wow, big fan.
okay, he's a huge fan. I can't stand that movie. Like it's
To each their own. That's what movies are all about. It's art. And as I say to like people that don't find Adam Sandler funny or a specific actor or comedian or whatever, Adam Sandler like makes a ton of money. He's a very popular actor slash comedian. Like, so even though I don't find him funny, clearly the masses do, or he wouldn't be in the position he is in. So enough people find him funny that he's a successful guy. So I can't hate on
yeah.
that, but not for me personally, but that's all
I
I'll
mean,
say on
hey,
that
if
one.
if you want to be a fan, just go check out Uncut Gems and leave it at that. That's the only Adam Sandler movie you need to see.
That's fair. All right, what do you got next up?
So my next one is probably more of an opinion slash hot take. Kind of thinking within this scope of Send Help. It's mainly a horror movie, but it does kind of have some comedy elements. I think the lines have become blurred between just straight up horror and horror comedy. And I think finding a right balance of comedy within a horror film is harder than just doing a straight horror movie because horror you can do as much grotesque things as you want. And even with modern horror movies, like they do try and find their subtleties of humor in it, but it doesn't like beat you over the head with it. If most horror comedy movies fail, I think it's because they, rather than trying to find a balance and like a reasonable pairing of the two, they lean too hard into one avenue or the other. Like trying to think of a bad horror movie that's like just goofy to laugh at because it has comedy, but I'm also trying to think of the other end where it's just straight up too much horror. And I'm blanking, but I think that the lack of commitment to what they want that blend to be is their downfall. And without getting into it, I think this film kind of is the exception to that rule. Like they found a way to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, like this, we'll get into my thoughts on the whole thing with Send Help, but to the point that you're making about the blend of comedy and horror, I think I want to say comedy and horror are my two favorite genres of movie, but I've always had a pet peeve of the combination of the two, unless like you're gonna be doing like a scary movie franchise like the Wayans brothers, where it is a parody and it's not meant to be scary. Because to me, any type of comedy or not any type, but too much comedy in the horror movie just takes me out of the horror movie. It's no longer a horror movie to me. I can't take it seriously.
Yeah.
So there's a difference to me about like levity in a horror movie compared to comedy. And I feel like a lot of movies don't understand that line. I feel like, for instance, one of my favorite horror franchises, Insidious, in the first one, there's moments of levity, like the characters are not like dull, like they have a relationship with each other, and some of the characters are charismatic. It doesn't come off like they're trying to be goofy and comedic or make it a comedy. And James Wan is great usually at balancing those aspects of it. But then in the sequel, they took the two side characters that Elise brought in, Specs and Tucker, and that kind of made Insidious Chapter 2 one of my least favorite in the franchise, because I'm like, we're supposed to be having a full sense of tension the whole movie, and then these guys are quipping and carrying on like a Marvel movie. It
Yeah.
just doesn't work for me in that regard. And so I feel like those two genres are very hard to blend personally, and it takes me out of the movie if it's not done well.
Yeah, absolutely.
My last one is a doozy, and this one is going to be for you because I haven't seen the movie yet. I plan on it. This is a movie from last year. It's a kind of a long. I'm reading these things verbatim as people send them to me. Again, I don't want to expose anybody so that anybody, people start coming with the pitchforks and torches at their house. So this person says the recent Avatar movie was absolutely horrific writing. There's no reason that every single person on the Avatar planet speaks English and has developed modern slang. Impossible to take it seriously, and the entire whale plot line was awful. I felt it was like a parody of the original movie. Without the great CGI, the movie is literally a 2 out of 10. So I haven't seen the new movie. 2 out of 10 is crazy. I haven't seen it yet, and I know it's not a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
Just the CGI alone couldn't make that. There's no way. So I wanted to defer to you because I feel like that's a very hot take. A lot of people seem to really enjoy the last movie. Maybe not as much as the second one, but, still a decent enough movie, maybe a 6 or a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8. So what are your thoughts on these nitpicks of this Avatar, the third Avatar?
Yeah, I mean, a 2 out of 10 is just goofy. Like, what are we doing here? I think, and you made a good point with the second one. Like, I think The Way of Water is probably the best movie that's come out of that franchise. But honestly, I think Fire and Ash is slightly better than the original. Like, the original is, to me, a stunning visual masterpiece, but it just feels a little toothless when it comes to, story and character weight. And that's kind of something the franchise has always struggled a little bit with. But I mean, because of how breathtaking everything is on screen, like you can excuse away a lot of it. With the most recent one, Fire and Ash, it's a tale of two movies for me. And you have the spectacle, this visual wonder and masterpiece that still continues to dazzle like a good 15 years after the original came out. And I mean, James Cameron has proven like he's a master at putting out a visual treat, which has found a way to transcend the idea of immersion. And I mean, technically speaking, like this is once again a marvel from the box office master himself. And I would argue that he knows how to direct a blockbuster better than anybody. But on the other hand, you also have an overly long story that did feel incredibly safe to me. It was packed to the brim with dialogue so terrible. It did take me out of the movie at times. but a 2 out of 10, really? Like, I do think, in my opinion, that Fire and Ash is probably James Cameron's worst script to date, and, like, being a pretty decent movie, like, if that's his worst script, like, I think we're chilling. But the movie does kinda have a hard time recovering from it, and there are this is a pro and a con. There are long stretches of the movie that do feel fresh and exciting. You've got these new characters, you've got this world building, but with such a bloated runtime, you do get bogged down for periods of time with rehashed storylines and moments that honestly feel nearly copied and pasted from Way of Water. But the action is incredible, but in spots that you'd want to see something entirely new, it does kind of feel like you're watching a flashback. That being said, I did have a fun time with the movie, and I do think James Cameron, he does know how to entertain. And like I said, while I think this is a step better than Avatar, I think it's many steps below Way of Water. But yeah, that is a tremendous, tremendous hot take to rate it
Yeah.
that low.
When I get these, I literally don't ask them any type of explanation. I don't say, "Oh, well, what did you mean by," like, I just say, "All right, thanks," and then we discuss it. So I don't know. I'd have to discuss more with this person where they're coming from. Everybody views and experiences movies differently, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, so like even with that, like Way of or not Way of Water. Well, both Way of Water and Fire and Ash, I actually saw twice a piece. First viewing, I actually saw in standard format, but I went back and saw them in 3D just because they're that good to look at. A 2 out of 10 is diabolical. Like, what are we doing here?
None of not even the worst movie that I saw last year was a 2 out of 10. Like, I don't go around just calling things 2 out of 10s and 10 out of 10s. You know me. On both sides of the movie spectrum, it's very difficult for movies to be that,
Yeah.
bad. Oh, yeah,
And I
especially an
mean, if
Avatar
if
movie.
you've listened to our top 10, bottom 10 worst movies of 25, I gave some flat out zeros. Like, go
Mhm.
watch those. You're gonna tell me those movies are hopefully not better than Avatar, Fire and Ash. Like,
And maybe to
go
this
watch
person,
War
they
of the
think they're in the
Worlds. Like, oh
same.
God,
Yeah,
I
maybe
hope
War of the
not.
Worlds to them is in the same category. I don't know. As I said, everything I've learned that when discussing movies and entertainment, you can just say, as
Okay.
long as it makes sense to that person and they're enjoying themselves or, whatever. So that's how I see it. But I still need to watch that movie and I intend to. So what was your last hot take?
So mine, kind of diving off what we've talked about in the past with streaming. I stream a lot, and I know I kind of talked about how the algorithm kind of feeds what people are watching now.
Hmm.
If you put that aside, my thing with streaming and the libraries surrounding them, I feel like if you don't know, like let's say, you and I are hanging out for a movie night.
All
We're
right.
going to spend half the time looking for something to watch because the libraries are so bloated that like having the option of choice is now kind of a downside. Like if I'm sitting down to watch something, like I know what I'm watching going in. I feel like now with among these 26 bajillion apps you have, there's a lot of overlap and there's a lot of uniqueness that you can just spend time browsing and wasting your time. And I feel like it takes away from the experience of seeing a film in the theater. Like a lot of what comes to theaters is out on streaming like 2 weeks later. But I feel like it's just an overall downside and it doesn't make sense as to why there's so much out there. Like I could give a list of people to watch probably a good like 500 movies that are streaming on all different things. But I would give those recommendations and be like, "Hey, watch this." Like not flipping through hundreds and thousands of lists and being like, "Let me watch this trailer on Netflix or who's in the cast on Prime." Like mm, it's too much.
Well, let me start off by saying that if you're having a movie night and you're just going in willy-nilly to pick a movie nowadays, that's going to waste at least an hour to an hour and a half of everybody's movie night. So I would say come with a game plan for that, for sure. As far as the streaming thing, as you said, like we kind of talked about it last episode. I mean, I don't mind it as much. There was always variety just in different forms. I mean, they always had DVDs, like you'd go over. I remember when I was a kid, I'd go over to like, relatives' houses and they just had walls of like DVDs. Back in the day, it was
Oh yeah.
VHSs, stuff like that. So it's the same type of thing. Like, oh, what are we going to watch today? What DVD we're going to pop in? So it's the same thing, different formatting. Now you just have, your Netflix stuff, your HBO Max stuff. And as I said last episode, certain apps and streaming services have better options for certain things. So as I said, for me, for horror, I usually go to HBO Max. Maybe for something I want to just put in the background while I'm doing something, just throw on like some bullshit Netflix special from like some random comedian or something. I don't know. Like everybody has their own tastes, and I feel like there's a niche for you to find in every streaming service. It's just I understand what you mean. It's a lot of stuff to consume, but you just have to kind of wade through it all. That's the only way to do it now.
It's funny you mentioned like actually having like a physical, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. I have thought about like actually starting like a physical media Criterion Steelbook collection. I don't have a player. I would get a player if I do this, but I do
The
think like the
PlayStation's
art of
not play it anymore. They
so
used to.
I don't have a disc drive on mine.
Oh,
I
okay.
have I have the one
You
without.
have the digital. Okay.
But so like if I did, like I could.
Mhm.
But yeah, I do want to like try and see like what I would invest in. Cuz physical media like I don't think you can get much better than that. And like even with the Criterion collection, like there's so much out, but you can get, Blu-ray, you can get 4K, like you can get all that. You're not going to get that level of technicality on a streaming platform you pay 5 to 10, maybe $15 a month for. So,
Correct. No, yeah, that'd be a good thing to start for sure. That's a good hobby to, or a good thing to start collecting.
yeah.
All right, you wanna transition over into the movie review for Send Help?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, this movie to me, just seeing the trailer for it and everything, I was just getting glimpses of some of the Evil Dead stuff that Sam Raimi did way back in the day. But, I just thought it was going to be the survival movie, maybe a twist or two. And then I saw it not too long, like a few days ago, after maybe a week or so of it being out, and everybody was raving about it, 90% of Rotten Tomatoes, everything. I will say that I think that going into the movie with that in mind, it kind of changed my viewpoint on things, which is kind of my fault. But I still thoroughly enjoyed the movie. So just before I get into any details, I just wanted to preface that. So, how about you? What were your thoughts heading into the movie?
Yeah, honestly, like I was in the same boat as you. Like I knew Sam Raimi was directing it. I knew it was this survival horror dark comedy about these two coworkers in a employee supervisor relationship, and I knew they ended up on this island, and it took survival plus workplace baggage plus the as you alluded to like the typical Evil Dead, the Sam Raimi stuff like Evil Dead, even in like Spider Man, like you see his style, and I I was excited to see it. It kind of fell off my radar for a little bit, and then seeing people talk about it and rave about it, and I was like, I'll go see it, man. I'm glad I did.
Yeah, definitely a good one. So you want to kick us off with what worked for you? And I'm assuming that we might have some stuff that overlaps. So I'll just jump in if you say something that I also have on my list.
Yeah, I actually have quite a bit, so we should have some overlap.
Okay.
For me, what works, my first point is the concept of it is actually surprisingly effective. It works surprisingly well. If you haven't seen it, I mean, it's basically Horrible Bosses meets Castaway, which is a mashup that sounds like it shouldn't click, but it does. And I think this movie finds a sweet spot between survival tension and workplace comedy, which made it feel fresh compared to typical, stranded movies. And it had a very smart setup, and it had some immediate momentum too. Like it really hits the ground running and wastes no time establishing the dynamic. And the early characterization of the leads between Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien is super sharp. Like you instantly dislike Dylan O'Brien's character because he's got this Nepo boss energy, and you're rooting for the more competent employee in Rachel McAdams. And with that portrayal, like I think we got a great use of the power dynamic. And one of the best parts is how the movie slowly shifts from empathy and control over time. And the relationship between these two characters evolved in a way that felt earned, like not a flip of the switch redemption, but a gradual rebalancing of these two characters. And that character tension really becomes the engine of the movie more than the island itself. And man, shout out to Sam Raimi. Like it feels like Sam Raimi like directing again because he did like I remember when Multiverse of Madness came out and I'm like, oh sweet, Sam Raimi's doing an MCU movie. And like having the horror elements leveraged in Doctor Strange was cool. I wish they would have done more of it, but like having the PG-13 boundary, like you could only do so much. But this one, like it feels like he had fun making a movie again. Like you can feel his personality in it between the mix of horror, the comedy, and suspense. It was right in his wheelhouse. And the tone, suggests that he's having fun. It's energetic, it's a little nasty, it's a little playful, and I never got bored. And he had a strong vision for these two lead performances. And Rachel McAdams, Linda, and Dylan O'Brien's what was it, Bradley? Bradley was his name?
Brad, yeah.
They both make the premise believable but entertaining, and their chemistry is really key. And they give the movie enough emotional grounding to keep it from becoming this gimmick. And one thing that really surprised me, like I didn't know how much the work life really kind of keyed in. I think it's kind of elevated by the modern work dynamics. Like you have this corporate slash authority versus merit angle from the supervisor employee. Like, I mean, I work in an office and I see it every day, but I think it gives this story a little bit extra bite. It adds a relatable level of tension and complexity that you usually don't get in a deserted island survival movie. And I liked how inspired it was by the Survivor like television show. My parents have watched that like every night for like ever since I was a kid. And I know they're big fans. I know my dad would probably see this movie, but my mom is not a fan. But kind of talking about the audience and what I think this film does a good job doing is it gave really a lot of crowd pleaser energy. I think it's an easy recommendation. I think it works as, not only like a date night movie or a, go with friends movie. Like I saw it by myself on a Friday night and the theater was slam packed, but all sorts of different people. And it's simply a good time. I mean, it's funny, it's tense, it's consistently entertaining. And also, like I think getting a movie like this early in the year, like it felt like a win. Because typically you don't see something this impressive until, later on.
I mean, yeah, there are some stuff that definitely overlap for me. First key point for me is the acting. I think that Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams, because their characters, as you said, are having incredible chemistry, the acting, the chemistry between the two actors. And 90%, I'd say, of the runtime is kind of just them interacting because
Mhm.
they're the only ones on this deserted island. Some of my stuff is going to go into spoilers. So this is my spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the movie and you're watching this now, just pause and then come back after to hear the rest of my thoughts. So yeah, the acting was a big standout to me. I also agree. I have written in my notes the Sam Raimi touch. You can definitely see, like you already mentioned, that he's having a good time. He's not restricted by the whole PG-13. So there's like a scene where like she's like killing this wild hog or like a boar, and it's like very bloody. And then
Yeah.
there's like a scene where like she's like throwing up on Dylan O'Brien. Like it's very like over the top almost, but yeah, you can just see that, as you said, like the director's like distinct style is within the movie, and we really missed that from, as you said, Doctor Strange. I appreciated the quick first act. I feel like it's set up, like you said, like it shows very quickly that she's big into Survivor. She like submitted a tape. She wanted to be on it. So, and she has like books in her apartment learning about this type of stuff. Um, and then it introduces Dylan O'Brien's character. They spend very little time in the office, and majority of the movie, the thing happens very early on in the movie where they get stranded. They're basically the rest of the movie is them dealing with the survival, which I appreciated. It didn't take too long to get to the main premise. I appreciated the complex hero, I'm gonna call it, where she is in the beginning of the movie, like you said, like more of a moral character, kind of doing things like having that thought process of, you know, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, rolling up your sleeves, getting work done, and you'll be recognized. And like you said, there's a dichotomy with this guy who you said is like, he's like, a Nepo baby, basically. His dad hands him, like, the dad, I guess, passes away. He just gains the company after not having to do anything. He just gives his friend who was in his frat the promotion that Linda deserved. So she's kind of seeing that, unfortunately, that's not always how life is. Some people don't play by those moral rules. And then which case on the island, she kind of switches over to being like a little bit more immoral. So I enjoyed that it was like a little bit of, at least for me, I was like, wow, this, I don't know who, I don't want to root for Dylan O'Brien's character, but at the same time, she is doing things that I'm like, man, like that's kind of fucked up. So I appreciated that. It kept me on the edge of my seat. And then the last thing that I have for the positives was the humor and the decent sense of tension throughout the movie. The stuff that was funny was pretty funny. Like my audience in the theater was laughing a good amount. But like how we mentioned before in the previous segments, it didn't to me take away from it. I didn't feel like this movie was necessarily quote unquote a horror movie. So I never went into it thinking I was going to be scared or there's going to be a bunch of jump scares. So I thought that the comedy was like a welcome point to the plot of the movie. And I thought that it was blended together really well. So that's the ending of my positives.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have a nice bit of overlap. What didn't work for you?
A lot less didn't work for me. I kind of like this movie. You know, as you said, like especially when these movies come out so early on in the year, it's kind of like a signal from the studio that we're just kind of throwing this out there. We're not really thinking it's going to be anything big. But yeah, it wasn't a ton of stuff I didn't like. The big one for me was there was a lot of conveniences in the movie, at least to me. It wasn't anything that like necessarily took me out of the movie, but it was something I noticed. So for instance, like she is said to be, or like they show that, you know, she's very into survival and she obviously does a lot of practicing and stuff like that. I felt that when they actually got onto the island, nothing was like an inconvenience for her because of that. And I feel like that's just not like a depiction of like how it would be, no matter how much survival stuff you read or whatever show you watch. I feel
Yeah.
like if you're actually just on an island, she like basically like the first night just sets up a hut like Marty from Madagascar did in that movie, and like everything, and like has like a working fan and everything is like she's finding everything perfectly right next to the beach. So that kind of like bothered me a little bit, but not enough for it to be a big problem. Well, I'm sorry, my phone just went off here. The second convenience thing was when, this is another spoiler, Dylan O'Brien has a fiance who ends up coming to the island to find them. I won't go too much into the plot, but basically Linda doesn't really want them to be found because she's kind of enjoying this control she's having over Dylan O'Brien's character, a nice change of pace from The Office. And she ends up doing a fucked up thing and killing the fiance and this guy who was bringing her on the boat. And Dylan O'Brien ends up finding his wife with her hand just sticking up out of the beach with the engagement ring to signify who it is. And I thought, like, oh, that's very convenient. Like, why would that have happened? So little things like that, I was like, you know, I just kind of like rolled my eyes. So I'll let you go for your first thing before I get into my second point.
I mean, I honestly don't even have much. I only have two negatives. My first one is that I do think there are some noticeable CGI issues throughout the film. There were moments where the effects look rough,
Hmm.
but under normal circumstances, it might be more distracting. But I think the movie's, momentum and tone kind of help you forgive it, and they just speed right past it.
Yeah, that was one of my points as well. Like to me, I feel like they're, as you said, like they were kind of rough. There was like one point where it was trying to be a jump scare and like a dream sequence that did
Yeah.
not. Is that like kind of what you were thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah, that did not work for me. As well as the plane crashing scene, that felt like kind of like CGI. Like obviously it's gonna be CGI, but like you felt the CGI in that. And
Yeah.
so that was also one of my points as well. For me, I want to get your opinion on this. This was like I debated on whether or not to technically strike this from the movie, but to me the plot twist was spoiled too early. The plot twist for me, like I didn't like how we see as the audience, she goes out and she's, you know, picking fruit or whatever, and she sees the boat and she sees that they have the opportunity to leave. I personally think that it would have been a lot better of a reveal if the audience didn't see that the whole time and we believed that she also wanted to leave the island. I kind of didn't like that that was like revealed so early, because then it made the whole scene at the end where they go to the house that's on the island, another spoiler, not, you know, it didn't make me react as much because I was like, oh yeah, like I already know like kind of that she wants to stay. I know why she wants to stay. So that was a drawback for me personally, where I was like, I feel like if they kind of kept us more in the dark there, it would have made for a better reveal in the end. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I do think that's an interesting take. Thinking about like how I would have done it, like I think you make a good point because you could have looped that in to where You could honestly, you could have looped that and like his fiance's death in the house, like all into one bulk. And like from where Bradley like finds the ring, it really kind of sets
Mhm.
everything in motion.
Right.
And Linda could have been like, "Oh yeah, I saw a boat. Could have been our opportunity to get out, but I want to stay put." And then your meddling fiance came along and bonk. And oh yeah, like maybe when you get to the house in the film, that's when Linda drops the bomb of everything. I think that yeah, you make a good point there. Because
Mhm.
I think that the house could have been like a riveting moment, and like Bradley probably would have lost all his shit even earlier than what we actually saw. So yeah, no,
Right.
I think that's a good take.
Yeah, and I feel like how you said, like even in the actual film, when they get to the house and like Dylan O'Brien finds the house and everything, she's like over the intercom and she's like this 80s villain being like, ha ha ha, let me explain my whole plan to you. Like
Yeah.
she's doing all of that anyway. So I felt as though like, I really wish, especially because like I said, this movie didn't feel horror to me. It had gore in it and it was violent, but I never felt like that scared or anything. There was some tension that was obviously made because you didn't know if Dylan O'Brien was going to find out at this point, or who's going to turn on who type of thing. Yeah, I really wish that Sam Raimi, for all of the over the top violence that was in it, he went even more over the top. I would have had Linda somehow be the one to make the plane go down, and she's well prepared to fucking survive, so she knows how to like strap on the stuff in the plane. Like, you could have explained it like that. She somehow like got Dylan O'Brien to survive, and this was her whole plan to just like kind of be alone with him or whatever. So I feel like they could have gone even further with the reveal and the twists and everything, but it still worked. That was just my little, I guess, critique, that I think it could have been done a little bit more. I like kept the audience more in the dark, as well as just gone even more bombastic with it. But that's the end of my negatives.
Yeah, the only other thing that I have is it's probably more of a critique in a risk way rather than a critique as a flaw. I think to like the non heavy, movie going audience, I do think that they might see like the premise could have been a gimmick, and I hope that's not detracting people from seeing it. But like the concept is inherently wild, and I think for some viewers it may still feel like too silly on paper. And if you don't vibe with Sam Raimi's, blend of tones and everything, you might bounce off this movie.
Mhm.
If you've seen Evil Dead, if you've seen Spider-Man, if you've seen any of his more bizarre work, I think it might scare some people away. I honestly appreciate them kind of taking that risk and doing something different because I think it was kind of refreshing for the genre, like doing what this movie did. So yeah, less of a flaw, but I think more of a what might not work for most people.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I feel like this movie is definitely not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And you brought up a good point. I feel like a lot of people know Sam Raimi from the Spider-Man trilogy. And while there is a lot of Sam Raimi isms, we can call it, in the Spider-Man trilogy, I feel like this is more akin to Evil Dead
Hmm.
than Spider-Man. So I'm curious if a bunch of people are going to this saying, "I'm such a fan of the Spider-Man movies," and then they're seeing and they're like, "This is the same director."
Yeah.
But this is kind of more what I guess, like a lot, you or me or a lot of other people know him from, like Evil Dead, and like this is kind of more of his thing. He prefers the horror. So when he was the Spider-Man director, it was a little bit of like more of a shock. We were like, huh, of all the people to be directing, but obviously it's iconic now. So, but yeah, it won't be everybody's, cup of tea for sure.
Hey, they might just have dirt in their eye.
There you go. You want forgiveness? Get religion. He should have thrown that into this movie, or had Bruce Campbell show up or
Oh,
something.
that would have
That
been
would have been
so
funny.
funny.
All right, let's go straight to the ratings then. What did you give this one?
So I currently have it at an 8.4 out of 10. It's still early on, but I don't think that score is going to change.
Hmm.
As of right now, I currently have it sitting behind The Bone Temple in releases for this year, but I feel confident in saying that this is probably going to be in my top 30, 40 ballpark movies of this year. And I mean, largely in the fact that it's a surprisingly smart, fast moving, and genuinely entertaining Raimi ride. Like it's funny, tense, it's driven by this great evolving dynamic between its leads. But yeah, I mean, putting minor CGI hiccups aside, it is one of those movies that I think is easy to recommend and even easier to have fun with.
Yeah, it really is a breeze. Like I feel like you don't feel like you're sitting in the theater too long or watching the movie too long, especially with how so many movies nowadays are so long. So yeah, I agree that it's a definitely a fun time. At this point, the at the rate that I'm going with the movies I'm watching this year, this will be in my top 20 because I'll fuck around and only watch 21 movies. But I gave this one a 7.5 out of 10. To me, I think that the stuff that the drawbacks that I gave it or the critiques kind of like brought it down for me. I feel like you know how I keep on preaching about this, how I am with endings and everything like that. That's literally how I rate movies so highly based on like endings, how it made me feel when everything is said and done. And because, like I said, that I felt like that the whole reveal thing was kind of already spoiled, like I kind of already knew what she was doing. It was more so like Dylan O'Brien's character was the one that was being surprised. It kind of took away a little bit from my enjoyment, I guess, in the end. Like when she was saying everything to him in the house, I was just like, yeah, I mean, I already know. So yeah, that kind of like detracted a little bit, but it was still a good movie. I think that if they had just done a little bit more with that, it would have been to me great, but definitely something I would recommend. A few people were on the fence about watching it and DM me on Instagram and they asked, oh, did you actually enjoy it? Because, people were on the fence about watching it or whatever. And I said, yeah, I recommend going and watching it. It's a fun time. Bring friends, go with your family if they like that kind of thing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't
go
see
go
too
check
much
it
of an
out.
issue. Yeah, and plus we're trying to push for people to do more like less IP stuff, go watch things that are a little bit different, a little bit more unique, and this film has plenty of unique for sure. Yeah, please go out and see this.
Yeah, go get outside your comfort zone. Try something
Yeah,
new.
for sure. All right, you have anything else you wanted to add? Any other points you wanted to make about this one?
I don't think so. I think I'm chilling.
All righty. Well, then that will do it for this episode. Next week, I have to take a look and see what's coming on next week. I think, are you planning on seeing Wuthering Heights? I know that that's like a romance movie.
You
I'll plan
know,
on seeing it.
I'll probably see it. Uh,
If you see that, then we can do a review on that. If
okay.
not, then we can figure out from you, since you've seen way more movies, you can just do the same thing you did with the Boneyard and we can just get a Matt review on something. So just
Is
let me
that
know
what
and we'll
else
see.
comes out next week? Anything big? Is that really it?
That I think that's the only one that I've seen because it has, the two big stars like Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi. Like it
Yeah.
kind of has the big cast, and that's the only one I've heard. So I have to look and see exactly what's coming on next week.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I
that's the
mean,
one I think I plan
whatever
on
we
doing.
want to do, I'm game.
Yeah, we can talk about it. So we will definitely put that out on social media, what it is that we're going to be doing in the next episode. But as for this one, thank you once again for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Thanks everybody.